Dom here from Essential RC, thanks for tuning in. So today the day has arrived. This is the maiden flight of the Eclipson 2-meter VORTEX, a design that's, well, at the time of recording this, is going to be out in the next couple of days, but Eclipson were lovely and sent me the 3MF files early so that I could have a go at it myself, kind of a bit of a promotion. So I hope this goes well. I have to say, it is amazingly simple to print and put together, and I'll go through my hints and tips and how to do that now.
So you will buy and download the Vortex zip from the Eclipson website. In that you'll find all the STLs that you need to print, but also 3MF files, which is great for us Bambu Studio users, because that has all the individual components in those 3 separate files according to the type of filament that you need to print them, plus all of the settings for each of the components. So here you can see the 4 forward sections of the fuselage, all of the wing sections for the left and right wings, and a very nice cradle that you can print. The handle for this cradle is in the PLA file, but all of these components really need to be printed out of PLA+. Moving on to the lightweight PLA 3MF file, and here you'll see the 4 rearward sections of the fuselage that I actually printed in PLA+ to maintain the same colour from front to back of the fuselage, and the V-tail components. And the third 3MF file contains all the other components. Most of these I printed out of PLA+, with the exception of the motor mount in the top right, which I printed in PETG, and the tyre, which I printed in TPU. So I think it took about 4 or 5 days solid printing to get through all the components during daylight hours. This is not overnight. And the 3MF files worked really well. All I really needed to do was to change the filament against each of the categories in those 3MF files to match what I had in my AMS. Obviously, couldn't use lightweight PLA in the AMS units, had to side mount those on the external reel, but worked really well, and eventually I got them all done and I could start assembly. You should find a separate XLS file in the main Vortex zip file that you will have downloaded. This has 3 tabs. The first tab has the main specs for the Vortex. Below that there's a component list of everything you need, including the electronics, carbon fibre tube and everything like that, so you can get that together before you start the build. Second tab has the printing information that you need, particularly if you are not using Bambu Labs and those 3MF files. These have the different category definitions, and probably those are defined separately on the Eclipson website as well. Third tab is just a link to the assembly video that I used to put it together. That may have been updated in the meantime, as may have this XLS file as well, but this is what I used. The Eclipson video is exceptional, I have to say. The first minute of it is fairly commercial and bit of an ad, but then when you get into the later part of that, the instructions are really clear and actually make the whole building experience a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. It points out all the individual steps that you need to take, and there aren't actually too many. After all the time you will have invested in printing out the components, the assembly is really quick. There aren't too many tips I can give you here, because it is that good. Just be careful to follow exactly what they're saying in the video and you can't go wrong. And some of the design features that they've put into this are exceptionally clever, and you couldn't hope to be replicated in any other form, whether it be foam or composite. It really is very, very clever. Okay, so just a few things that I really liked about this build and a couple of tips along the way. Starting off with the fuselage, the way that the components slide into one another was really, really nice. Makes sure that the alignment is absolutely perfect. There is zero hinging for you to do on this model. This is one printed piece. I'm showing here the aileron section on one of the fuselage sections, and this is one printed piece. I reused a bunch of servos on this project, so these FMS servos were in a foamy, and this is a cleaned up servo, but even though it's still got some glue residue on it, it still works absolutely fine, so why shouldn't I use it? But the thing I'm showing here is this very ingenious way that they are mounting the servos and linking to the control surface. This is all done with these two plastic components that you screw directly onto the wing and the control surface. Equally innovative was how the V-tail is designed, but I will point out here, you see these two white pieces that protrude from the back of the fuselage. Even though they've done their best to design them so that you couldn't insert them correct, you could still do that. So make sure that they are inserted into the fuselage in this orientation, because once they're glued in, if you get this wrong, you'd probably have to reprint the whole fuselage again. So just make absolutely sure they are glued in this orientation. Again, no hinging to do for the elevators on the V-tail. They literally just slide in place. So showing here the linkage to the V-tail elevators, and this worked very well. No slop in the movement, a very precise movement and very accurate flying as a result over 5 flights today. After you've done the V-tail linkages, then there's this little plastic component you put over the top to hide it all, and then you can put the tail skid in place. Just a bit of wire keeps the tail off the ground when you land. One minor observation here, and there might be a good answer for this, but why have they decided to cut the trailing edge of the elevator early from the fuselage? Why is that? Is there an aerodynamic reason for that? I don't know, but aesthetically I would have thought it would look better if the trailing edge was continued all the way to the fuselage. This is the TPU tyre and wheel underneath the fuselage, and this stood up to some punishment today over 5 flights. Really nice. There is a wire kind of suspension shock system inside this that is quite clever, have to say. So even though the TPU is going to have some shock absorbing effect, the wire really helps that as well, and there's no glue required. You just literally screw this in place. The folding prop yoke and the spinner that you see here I printed from PETG. They worked really, really well. The blades I bought from Formax. They are 8x6 blades running on a motor from a brushless motor from Formax as well that worked on 4S. But I will say that because of the nature of the PETG material, it's important that every few flights you do check that the prop nut is still done up tightly. If it's the type of thing you're going to worry about, then maybe you should go for a metal option so that it stays tight for longer.
So with that done, let's get it in the air. Let's see how it flies. 3, 2, 1. Yep. Lovely, thank you so much.
So thanks to Eclipson Models for giving me early sight of this model. I really enjoyed the build and flying it for the first few times, and going to enjoy flying it a lot more. The power system is absolutely perfect, so thanks to George at 4Max for speccing that. I'll link to the components used and that I bought in the video description and the pinned comment. And thanks to you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, then please drop them in the comments section. See you again soon. Bye.